Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here on On GAA. My name is Séamus Brady, and in this video, I'm just going to give my personal thoughts on the news that Brian Cody has stepped down or stepped away from his role as Kilkenny boss after 24 years. Look, undoubtedly the greatest manager that we've seen in Gaelic games. I mean, you can talk Mick O'Dwyer, you can talk Jim Gavin. They are absolutely right up there on the podium with him, in my opinion, as the best three. But Brian Cody, man. I mean, 24 years he's been at the helm for Kilkenny. He has absolutely led them to successes that we never thought possible. 11 All-Ireland titles. 11 All-Ireland titles. Like, who achieves that? How can you do that? That's absolutely crazy. I grew up, I'm 21 years of age now, born in 2001. I grew up and all I knew was Kilkenny winning. That was all I knew was Kilkenny success, Kilkenny success, Kilkenny success. They just won all the time. And I distinctly remember there was one game in 2012 where Galway beat them. And Galway beat them out the gate in the Leinster final. And I remember being like, what is going on? Because I'd never seen Kilkenny vulnerable. I'd never seen them. Obviously, the 2010 final, but that was an amazing Tipperary team. I'd only known Kilkenny to have it put up to them by Tipperary. That came from Brian Cody. When you watch his speech, when you watch about how he was talking about setting an example, he has made Kilkenny once again kings of hurling. I know Limerick are, obviously the team to beat right now, 3 in a row All-Ireland champions, but Kilkenny in Cody's era were kings of hurling for the majority, and that came from Brian Cody. Yes, he had an amazing team. He had Shefflin, he had Eddie Brennan, he had Jackie Tyrrell, he had JJ Delaney, he had Tommy Walsh. But Brian Cody got the best out of them. Make no mistake about it. Brian Cody got the absolute best out of those lads. And when you look at Jackie Tyrrell's book, when you look at, sources that tell you about Cody's training sessions, it was professional from the beginning of training sessions to the end of training sessions, to the tactics beforehand, to the food that was served before the game, to the food that was served after the game. Everything was perfect under Brian Cody. And he talked a lot about it in his speech. He was saying if training was at 7 o'clock, he would see it as his duty to be there and have everything good to go at 6 o'clock. And that was the standard that he was setting. And he was speaking about how every one of us wants to be part of a system that is geared towards pure excellence. And he was talking about just things. He's just such a genius. He was saying about you should never ever think that you are the best that you can be, because then you're putting limitations on yourself. You should never think that you have peaked. You should always be trying to strive to get better. You should always be pushing yourself to get better. When you look at that Kilkenny team, they just never, ever, ever had enough. They always were just coming back for more, coming back for more, coming back for more. They win the 4 in a row. They lose their final. They get the hunger. They come back and they win it again twice in a row. Like, it's amazing the hunger that this Kilkenny team has constantly had under Brian Cody. The teams that he's produced time and time again, he's always managed to change the team. And that team that he put out in that All-Ireland final, they scored 226 in an All-Ireland final and lost. That just shows how good Limerick are. That's not a knock on Kilkenny. That's not a knock on what Brian Cody's done with this Kilkenny team. He has evolved with the modern game. He has absolutely moved with the times. And Kilkenny gave Limerick as good a game as anyone has given them since Limerick won back the title in 2020. And Kilkenny beat them in 2019. So, like, Cody has evolved with the times. This Limerick team is just so damn good. In my opinion, there's no question he's the greatest manager that hurling has ever seen. And in my opinion, I probably would just about put him as the best that Gaelic Games has seen. You could talk about Jim Gavin doing the 5 in a row, Mick O'Dwyer, that Kerry team in the 80s, what a team that was. And then obviously he went on to success with Kildare, he went on to success with Laois, and a decent success with Wicklow too. But for me, it's Cody. 24 years at the helm of the absolute kings of hurling. And when he came in, that professionalism, that success that wasn't there with that Kilkenny team. The 90s had been dominated by Munster teams. And for him to come in and just inject that professionalism back into the Kilkenny side. Remember, at the end of the 90s, Wexford had won the All-Ireland in 96. Offaly had won it in 98. Kilkenny weren't at the level that people think they would have been back then. They were not even the best in Leinster. So for Cody to come in, make them absolute kings of Leinster. And then even with Galway coming over to Leinster Championship in 2009, them to remain kings, remain top, it just shows what an amazing manager he is. I wish him all the best in his retirement plans. He is an absolute legend. He has made the game exactly what it is.